Hello everyone, welcome to the tutorial video on how to add an order and a trip to Amous TMS. First thing you need to do is go to amostms.com, enter your user ID, password, and then click on sign in. Once you're in the system, you're going to be defaulted to the dispatch board. First thing we're going to do is click on add new order. The button is found on the top left of the toolbar in your menu, and it's going to be the two tick marks with the little road between them. So if you click on it, it'll open up the add order screen. Now, this is a very important part of the video, so please pay close attention. This is how a shipment is built within Amous TMS. There are two parts or two objects, the order and the trip. The order is the part of the shipment that actually deals with the customer. It's going to have the bill to, pickup, drop, pricing information, everything that you're going to do with the customer. That order then gets connected with the trip. The trip is the actual part where you perform the dispatching process. You're going to either dispatch the driver or the carrier. The reason why there are two separate parts is because it allows for better security of information, so the customer only sees the information that they require to see, and the drivers and carriers only see their information, like the pricing, let's say any documents that were uploaded, stuff like that. The second reason is because the system allows you to create more complicated moves using the route builder or the load planner. Some of these complicated moves can be load splitting, cross consolidation, adding multiple orders onto one trip, or taking one order, putting it between two separate trips, stuff like that. So for now, we're going to cover how to create a one order to one trip load. But if you want to learn how to create more complicated orders and trips and consolidate them, put them through a crossdock, stuff like that, I recommend watching the route builder and load planner tutorial video. First thing we're going to do is select the customer for whom we're creating the load for. On the top, you have the branch name with the drop-down list. If you haven't added your customers into the TMS just yet, I recommend watching the Add Customer tutorial video. It will detail everything from entering their information, bill to, locations. That way it will speed up the process for when you're creating a load for the customer. First thing I'm going to do, like I said, is select the customer, in this case Whole Foods. And there we go. You can see that the two forms have unlocked. The form on the left is the actual data entry portion, and the form on the right is the summary information. We call this the side-by-side load entry. You can see the customer load number is automatically generated using the sequence tool. If you want a different load number to be generated, watch the sequence tutorial video. It'll detail how to create a sequence and assign it into the configurations for the order. Now, first tab is the bill to. As you can see, my information for the bill to for Whole Foods is already filled in because I told the system in the branch detail page what the bill to information is. That way it speeds up the process for me. So all I have to do at this point is click next. Now, this is the pickup form. As you can see, I already have some of the information pre-filled. What I'm going to do is clean the form and start from a clean slate. I'm going to click on the brush at the top, and there we go. First thing to do is select the pickup location. So if you already have the addresses saved after you entered them into the branch system, you can just go in here and either type in the template ID or name. So there we go. I'm going to say Whole Foods Chicago Distribution Center. Click on it, and there you go. It all gets filled in, including the latitude and longitude, which helps you out with the actual tracking and tracing and the mobile app or the carrier portal. Now let's say I added a new address. So let me clean the form again and start from fresh. I'm going to type in the name, select the type, going to say it's a distribution center, and then in the address one, I can type in the address, select from the drop-down list that's pinged from Google, and you can see it fills in all of the information for me. I could also add the contact information down below. And once I've entered that information, you can see there's a save location button at the top. What this does is it saves this address into the address book, so that way next time you create a load, for instance for Whole Foods, you don't have to type in this address again. All you would have to do is type in either the template ID or the name in this field and select from the drop-down list like I showed you before. So let's try saving this location. You can see the template ID form pops up. So again, this is the location code that you're creating for this address book location. You can have this template ID entered manually, or you can also set up a sequence for it. And just like with the customer load number, you can go to the sequence tutorial video and cover how the actual template IDs can be generated automatically. There we go. So now I have the address book location saved. And that way, if I have a clean form one more time, and let's say I'm going to do the template ID this time, type it in. There we go. We have that Whole Foods distribution that I created just a moment ago. So let me go back and actually use my original location. And let's go to the next step. Over here, you got the comments field, so you can add any comments about this pickup. Then you have the pickup info. You can enter the pickup number in this field. And then you have the pickup window from the time that it's getting picked up. If it's a first come, first serve, click on the FCFS, and there you go. You now have a window. So you can select the window for the first come, first serve. All I'm going to do is I'm just going to type in 09/09/2020 at 10 a.m. If it's an appointment, you can see on the bottom over here, you got the appointment number, appointment date, early time, and late time. You could also set the appointment to be required. What this means, you can set up a notification in the system to automatically generate a notification for the load in the dispatch board that, let's say 24 hours before the tentative pickup time, you're going to get a notification to put in the appointment number, date, early time, and late time. And this will be covered in the notification tutorial video. Next, we got the contact information. So we got Karen Palmer and her phone number. And then after that, we have the items. Now, the item ID is the name of the commodity. So for instance, I'm going to pick up whole milk. I'm going to enter the weight as well, and then unit of measurements. You got the description if you want to put more detailed information about the item. And then after this, you may or may not have additional information like the temperature. What you can do in the configurations for the orders is you can tell the system that any of these fields that you see when I click the pencil tool for the item can show up on the add order page. That way you don't have to do extra clicks to get into the detail page of the item. And I'll cover this at the end of the video. So what I'll do is I'll add a temperature. I'll say it's between 40 and 50 degrees Fahrenheit. Now a couple buttons on the left side. You got the trash can icon, which will delete the item. You got the search function, which will search for saved items that you can reuse over and over again. If I click on search all, currently I do not have any items for this customer, but if you did, they would show up on the drop-down list. You got the edit tool to enter more detailed information like we saw earlier, including freight class, dimensions, commodity, monetary value, volume, all the good stuff. And then you got the copy tool. So if you want to create a second item that's identical to what you just entered, click on copy. And there you go. I'm going to delete this one. And then you got the save item field. So if I save the whole milk item ID for this item, it'll show up whenever I search for this item. So let me go back to the search function one more time. Click on search all. And there we go. We have whole milk, 45,000 pounds. The last section is references. You can add more custom fields, something like the seal number, PO number, broker load number, whatever it may be. These are all custom fields that I created in my account. This will be covered in the reference manager tutorial. So check out that video if you want to work with these references. After you finish filling out the pickup form, click on next, and now you have a drop form. 99% of this form is going to be identical to what we saw in the pickup form. I'm just going to show you a couple more tricks that you can use. So we saw earlier how you can search by template ID or name or enter an address for the first time and click on save location. You could also use get geodata. Basically what this allows you to do is search for a location based on the latitude and longitude, and it will find the closest address. So let's say you don't know the address, but you know where it's located. This tool will help you out to do so. You could also use the little search function on top, the magnifying glass. What you can do is you can filter out your address book based on location types, the names, zip codes, postal codes, countries, cities, whatever it may be, or click on search all for all of your address book locations. So there we go. And if I scroll down, you can see all of the locations that I have access to, I'm going to select on Whole Foods Midtown in Georgia, click save, and there we go. Everything's filled in. Again, you got the comments, drop information with the first come first serve, appointment, contact information. The only thing different now is that I have the items selected for this drop instead of creating the item. And again, you have the references on the bottom. If you need to create multiple pickups and drops, on the top right, you do have the add pickup and add drop buttons. So if I need another pickup, I can click on it, and now we have a pickup after the drop. Now let's say I need to move around the sequence of events. I needed to go pickup, pickup, drop. All I have to do is on the right side, go to the order summary and drag and drop that pickup to the second position. And now the order is for pickup, pickup, drop. I'm going to delete this pickup for now, and we'll just focus on a simple pickup drop. Click on next, enter the drop information. There we go. Click on next. And now we have the additional info tab. You can select which specific equipment needs to be used for this order. This drop-down list can be modified by you. I'll cover at the end of the video when we go into the order configurations. So I'm going to say 53-foot reefer air ride. And you also have the services. So any specific services that need to be performed on this order. You could also have these services linked up automatically with an accessorial charge in the pricing. I will show you how to do that as well in the configurations. Next, you can enter special instructions. And again, you have these references. Now, the references and the additional info, you can make those required for your users. Again, if you want to check out the references, I recommend watching the references tutorial video on how to set those up and make those required. Next, we got the pricing. This is the pricing information that will be billed out to your customer. So on top, you have the currency, mode of transportation, service type, typical service days, total distance, total item weights, and then you got the contact information for your customer. And then you have the actual charges. The line haul, you got the charge description with the rate and the rate type. You can do it by flat, distance, weight, volume, or quantity. I'm going to make it flat to make it easier as a $1,000 rates. You could also add comments. These comments are internal only, so you can add a comment for the billing department to review the charges later on. So that's exactly what I will say. You got any discounts you want to apply? Any fuel surcharges? So I'm going to say a 10% of the line haul. And then you can add any additional charges. Again, these additional charges can be linked with the services in the additional info. And you could also modify this drop-down list for the additional charges in the general configurations. And I will show you how to do that at the end of the video. And there you go. You have entered all of the information for the order. I'm going to cover a couple more tools that you can use in the screen that might help you later on. On the right side, you can see the order summary. You have the pickup and the drop, the references, equipment, and the rate total. So once I click next, it'll update the rate total. You got the rate confirmation tab. Now, this is more of a tool currently for carriers only. Later on, it's going to be available for brokers to automatically see what the rate confirmation will be like. But for now, what the carriers can do is either drag and drop or select a file from the computer, which is the actual rate confirmation. So let me actually select one, upload it, and there you go. So now you have a visibility of the rate confirmation as you're doing the load entry. So it speeds up the process, minimizes mistakes. You could also even take the information, copy and paste it, and then drag it and drop it into the actual forms themselves. So let's say I want to take this customer load 11223. I can highlight it, copy it, and paste it, and there we go. So as you can see, it's a really helpful tool to help speed up the process. Once you click on submit the order, it will also upload that document into the trip and order detail pages. You got the third tab, which is the map. This will show you the actual planned route that the driver or carrier needs to take. And then you also have templates. On the bottom right, you got save as templates. So let's say I do this load 5 times a week. I don't want to do the load entry every single time for Whole Foods. So all I have to do is click on save as template, give it a template name. I'm going to say Whole Foods Chicago to Atlanta. Click on Submit. And that way, next time I select Whole Foods from the branch name drop-down list and click on Copy from Template at the top, there you go. You have Whole Foods Chicago to Atlanta. And if you click on it, it'll pre-fill the forms. All you really have to do is change the dates and times, maybe some pricing information, references, stuff like that. Make sure everything looks clean, and then click on Submit. If you have the customer rating engine set up, you can see there's a little button on top that says Show Rates. If I click on this, you will get a pop-up window that'll give you available rates for this customer using your own rating engine. As you can see right now, it's not set up. This will be covered in a separate tutorial video for customer rating. This is a very heavy feature, very helpful though. So if you would like help with it, look in the description, get in contact with us, and we would be happy to set it up for you. If you need to create multiple copies of the loads right away, on the bottom, you got the number of loads. So right now it's only creating one copy, but you could also create 2 or 3 copies as well. And lastly, you got the single trip or no trip. Single trip, if this is going to be a regular FTL movement, you're not doing a cross-dock facility, you're not consolidating loads or doing LTL, leave it at single trip most likely. But if you're doing an LTL movement, switch it over to no trip. That way you'll be able to take this order and process it through either the route builder or the load planner. This will be covered in a separate tutorial video for the route builder and load planner, where you'll be able to create very complicated movements that will help simplify your life and your company as a whole. So once you're done, you're going to click on Submit. This will create the order and the trip, and then you will begin the actual dispatching process using either a driver or a carrier. The thing I do want to cover is the general order and trip list. So if you want to see all the orders and trips and then even perform actions on them, you'll be able to do so. So let's open up the menu and let's go to Views. Remember, the miscellaneous items within the system. If I open it up, you can see there's a section for order and trip. I'm going to click on order, and it'll pull up the screen with the list of all the orders that I have in the system. So currently there's 114. You can see that by the number at the top. If you would like to see this information a little bit differently with the column headers, sorting, and filtering options, take a look at the reporting tutorial video and you'll be able to create these reports, as you can see on the top right with the drop-down list. Now, for each order on the right side, you got the 3 dots. If I click on this, you got a couple of options. First one is Go to Details. It'll actually take you to the detail page for the order. Second one will create a template. So if you created a load historically and you want to create a template for it to use over and over again in the Add Order screen, you can click on Create Template, enter the template name, and select the trip creation mode. Next option is to cancel the order. So remember when we created the Tonu charge, it'll show up over here. And if I select this and cancel it, it'll cancel out the order and the trip as well. Next option is Change Branch. So let's say you created this order and you accidentally selected the wrong customer. You can click on Change Branch, and then in the branch system, select which customer it actually applies to. So if it's actually an order for Publix, click on it, it'll change the order for Publix, and it'll also move the trip to the Publix level. Important note, if you change the trip to a different branch, the order will still be with the original branch level, the original customer. But if you change the order, it'll also change the trip automatically. Last option is Delete. This will delete the order from the system along with the trip. Same idea with the change branch. If you delete the trip, the order will still exist, but if you delete the order, it'll delete the trip as well. On the left side, you can select multiple orders or select all of them with the check marks. And then you have the Mass Action tool where you can add a reference to all of these orders. You can print them out using a document that we create for you, a template. Get in contact with us if you do want that. Or you can get an XML file. That's for external data storage, or let's say you will move on to another system and you need to import data. That's what that will allow you to do. And then you have the Create an Order. If I click on this, it'll take me to the Add Order screen that we saw earlier. If I go back to the menu and click on Views as we did before and click on Trip, it'll take me to the trip list. Same idea applies with the order. You can set up different reports in the drop-down list to select to create different column headers, sorting options, and filtering options. You got the number of trips at the top, and you got the different options in the 3 dots where you can go to details. You can post this trip to the load board. So this is more for the brokers if they're posting out the trip to either DAT or truck stop in order to get carriers to call them. You can change the branch and you can delete this trip as well. And same as before, you can select multiple trips and perform mass action tools like add reference, add these 3 trips to the load board, print them out, or get an XML file. Now, let's cover some of the configurations as promised. So I'm going to open up the menu, go to configurations, and then start out with order. On top, you have the sequence configuration for the order. I'm going to skip on this for now, so we're going to leave this for the sequence tutorial video. The last part is the show trip references on order. So what you will be able to do here is any references that are created on the trip detail pages will be able to be shown on the order detail page as well. So in this case, I have the PO number. And you can open up the drop-down list and select any of the created references to be shown on the order detail page as well. Below, you got the show trip documents on order. What this means is that any documents that are uploaded by the driver, by the carrier, or by you on the trip detail page will automatically be shown on the order detail page as well. The reason why they aren't automatically is because you don't want certain information to always be shown to the customer. So you can pick and choose which document types will be seen on the order side for the customer as well. Default references, if you remember on the add order screen in the additional info, you had some required references. This is where you can select which ones are required by load entry or dispatchers to be entered. Confirmation document type, if you remember, we uploaded the rate confirmation into the add order screen in the summary portion. You'll be able to select which document type is uploaded. Default item ID, you can select which item will automatically be defaulted in the form. So let's say you always want it to say general freight or another item that you have saved. This is where you can set this up. Default item weight unit of measurement. So if I select pounds, it'll automatically always be pounds. Default item package type. This is if you're selecting the quantity of pallets, for instance. This will default that in the item detail pages. And also the default item temperature unit of measurement. I'm going to say Fahrenheit. The build to template ID. So you could either preset the build to or say use the branch build to. If I click on yes, like I already have, the system will look at the branch detail page for the customers and automatically select the build to that you set up. Remember in the add customer tutorial video, we went over how to add the build to information so it's automatically pre-filled. So this little tool over here automatically sets that up for you. The remit to template ID, you can set up a address book template ID to automatically fill in for the remit to location. You got the payment terms, prepaid or collect, quick pay, direct pay, third party. Service type, what's the typical service type you have? Is it priority? Is it standard? Is it team drivers? You got the typical stop interval or amount of days for each load. I said 2. The time interval, minutes. When you have the date selector and you're selecting the time from the date picker, you'll be able to preset what is the interval for the time. So if you're going to say the pickup is for today, then the times are going to say 1, 1:30, 2, 2:30 p.m. Trip creation mode. What is the typical trip creation mode? Is it single trip or no trip? Remember at the bottom of the add order screen, you can select is it going to be single trip or no trip? And then you got copy from trip. This is for the different statuses. You can pick and choose which statuses from the trip automatically will be shown on the order detail as well. Same way as we saw with the documents and the references at top. And then you could also say which ones are going to be excluded. Next section is the UI for the additional item fields. If you remember when we were adding the item, I said that you can pick and choose which one of those detailed item informations can show up. You can see I have that temperature range that we saw. You could also go in and say that I also want the freight class and also the monetary value to show up. Origin and destination template IDs, you can set up what is the default origin or destination for this customer. You could also say what is the origin early time usually and the origin window. So if I say it's 12 a.m. and I select first come first serve, it's going to automatically default say it's going to be the early time as 12 a.m. and the late time as 4 a.m. Same thing for the destination. For the load cancel reason, if you want to cancel any orders that were created in the system, for instance, the Tonu charges, you can go in here and click on the plus sign and add a new load cancel reason. So the stored value and the user displayed value, you can make the stored value like the code, let's say Tonu, and then user displayed value as truck order not used. It's up to you. It could be the same thing. It's how you want to manage those actual cancel reasons with the stored value and the user displayed value. Once you've entered all the information, click on save, and there you go. You have added the order configurations. Now keep in mind, remember when we went over the branch system with the add customers. If I open up my branch system, on the top, I have the master. So any of the configurations that I enter at the master level or the top level automatically get inherited to every single level underneath. So if I would have said that I needed the freight class for the item fields when I add an order, any single customer or any other division or level underneath will automatically have that in the add order screen as well. But let's say I want to go into Jewel, Osco, or Publix and set up different origin and destination details, let's say with the template IDs. I can go down to Publix and create different configurations for the add order screen for this customer or division specifically. And this will be covered more in the branch system detail tutorial video. I'm going to go back up to the master level and we'll cover how to add different accessorial drop-down items. Let's open up the menu, go to the configurations, and click on General. Scroll down a bit, and now you have the accessorials. These are all the accessorials that were given with your account when you first started using Amos TMS. Let's see how we can remove items and add items and restore this list as well. First thing, if I need to add a new accessorial, click on the plus sign next to accessorials, and you can see there's the stored value and default value. The stored value is the code for this accessorial, and the default value is what's actually going to be shown in the drop-down list. So let's say I'm adding a lumper. Let's say the stored value is going to be lumper fee, and the default value is also going to be lumper fee. Then you need to select the rate type. Is this a rate that's based on a flat rate, based on distance, deadhead, weight, volume, quantity, time, stop, line haul? If it's flat, it's just a flat, but let's say if it's based on line haul, you can see there's a rate unit as well. So I'm going to select that it's a percentage. So that way, when I select lumper fee in the additional charges, it'll automatically default all the information to percentage, and then I can set it, is it 10%, 5%, 20%, whatever it may be. You could also link it up with a specific service as mentioned in the video earlier. So let's say anytime I select, for instance, after hour charges, I know that usually won't happen, but as an example, anytime I select after hours charges in the additional info in the add order, it'll automatically create this lumper fee charge within the pricing information when I'm creating that order. Then you can flag it. Is it fuel related? Is it non-taxable? Or is this an internal expense? And once you've put in all the information, click save, and now you have a lumper fee in the accessorials or additional charges. As you can notice on any one of these charges or drop-down item lists, there is a trash can icon. So let's say I don't want the bonded custom shipments to show up. It clutters my drop-down list. My users don't use it. I click on the trash can icon, and now it's gone. If you want to restore this list to the original state as it was when you received the system, on the top you got the little arrow that says return inherited. If I click on this, it'll restore the list, and basically any new items that you created will be deleted, so keep that in mind before you click on return inherited. On top, you have the services. Same idea applies. Trash can item deletes it from the drop down list, plus sign adds a new item, the stored value, user displayed value, and then you have the arrow to return the inherited for the list that you received when you got the account. If you want to edit the equipment list that we saw in the additional info, scroll a little bit further and you have the equipments. You can see that I have the 48-foot dry van and reefer, 53-foot dry van and reefer in bulk. This is a list that I already consolidated for my account. Again, trash can item, remove it, plus sign, add a new drop-down item, and then the arrow will return the inherited list that you received when you got your accounts. And then you got the mode of transportation, service types, and everything else will be covered in the later videos for the configurations. I don't want to jump into them too much. Basically, all that I covered right now will help you with the add order screen. I hope this video was helpful in guiding you through how to create an order for the system. If you need any additional help, look at the description, get in contact with us, and we'd be happy to set up a meeting and guide you through more details about load entry and other parts of the system. Have a great day.